welcome to another Ryan Sports Reviews. Tonight I'm making my predictions for the 2021 MLS Cup Playoffs. Big episode tonight. Tomorrow the playoffs start, of course, so we're going to get this one out now. Actually under 24 hours. More like, 18, 15, 7 to 7, that's 12. About 16 hours? Yeah. You're asking, Ryan, why are you wearing an old Drew Bledsoe throwback Patriots jersey? One, I only have Toronto FC, Nashville SC, and Vancouver Whitecaps jerseys for MLS teams. And, of course, other teams, I'm going to have to wear stuff that the colors go or stuff like this. But you know what this means. It's not who's winning, it's how we get there that I think will be the shock. I don't think anybody else is going differently than I am for the winner of the whole thing. But it's how we get there that's the shock. So, calm down. But stay to the end. You'll see. So, we'll start with the East. We'll go to the West for each round. So, here we go. Of course, New England Revolution have the first seed. They have a bye to the semis. So we will start with New York City FC versus Atlanta United FC. The first round matchup. Quarterfinal, conference quarterfinal, all that. I say first round because they don't say quarterfinal, but there you go. So for me, New York City FC versus Atlanta United FC. Under Gonzalo Pineda, Atlanta's been a great team. Atlanta has been great under Gonzalo Pineda. Yes, they haven't really had a killer instinct. They've had a hard time putting away games at times. But for me, Atlanta has been the better team over the past 2-3 months, I'd think. They're better offensively. Joseph is waking up. Aruju is playing well. What a good team. Guzan, great in goal. This seems more like 2017-18 Atlanta United than 19-20 Atlanta United. It seems like the old Atlanta United is starting to come back. Now, I'm not saying they go all the way to the cup. They don't. But I do believe in them to pull off an upset. I trust them. They're a good team, home and away. They're strong under Pineda. Their team is starting to build back up again. Barco is doing well as well. New York, they always choke. It's just how New York always chokes for me. Sean Johnson isn't that good in goal. Yes, Tati Castellanos won the Golden Boot, but honestly, other than that, where are the goals coming from? And honestly, Tati can have an off game here or there, and I think the pressure really gets to him. I've seen him in bigger games. The pressure gets to him. Tati's good when he's a flat track bully, but when it really matters, he's not great. He could score, but he's not great. He does falter under pressure. I've seen that before. So for me, I just think New York's going to choke again at home. I do. New York always finds ways to choke in the most bewildering ways. I think Atlanta United wins this game and goes on to face New England Revolution at Gillette Stadium. The final match of the conference semifinals that Monday, Thursday, Sunday, Monday, I think. Yeah. Thanksgiving's the Rapids, and then the other two are on that Sunday, and then I think I'm right on that, but you know what I mean. Next up, Nashville SC versus Orlando City FC. Or Orlando City SC. Nashville SC versus Orlando City SC. Orlando has had their problems this season. They've been a very on and off team. Nani hasn't been great since August. He's been hurt a lot. DK isn't as good as he's been with Barnsley or he was last year. Chris Mueller has been non-existent, to say the least. The best player on the team right now, in my eyes, is still Pedro Gallese. Pato is okay. He hasn't really lived up to his potential so far. Schlegel doesn't play much. The hero doesn't play much. Vanderwater is pretty good, I have to say. I like him. Junior Urso is good in the midfield, but he's more of a defensive number 8 than anything else, even though he scored on Toronto FC, so what do I know? For me, I just think Nashville is better all around. Hani Mukhtar should be the MVP this year. It's going to be Carles Gil. I know that. I don't care. It should be Hani Mukhtar. Hani Mukhtar is the reason Nashville is so good right now. With the team around him. Rios, Leal, McCarty, Zimmerman, Willis, Alistair Johnston. You can't forget him. The Canadian boy. You can't forget him. Aki Loba, CJ Sapong. Pretty damn good team. Jonder Cadiz, no, he's always born offside, but he was born offside. But with that being said, I think Nashville's just the better team. Gary Smith is the better coach than Oscar Pareja. They're a better team right now than Orlando by far. It may go to extra time. I think Nashville gets it done at home at Nissan Stadium. Easy as you like. Nashville goes to the conference semifinals for the Eastern Conference. Then finally, you have Philadelphia Union versus New York Red Bulls. Philadelphia Union. Because Philadelphia Union, as it stands, they had a great second half of the season. That's all they needed to get to second place in the East. The Red Bulls are the Red Bulls. They're the Metro Stars. They are what they are. Always. This is how it's always been. They are what they are. Pretty much. Especially in the 2010s and 2020s. Late 2010s, 2020s. They are what they are. They're a 7-seed team who press well. They have good football, but it's not good enough to beat the Union. And their coach isn't as good as Jim Curtin. Honestly, do I have to explain this that much? It's the Metro Stars versus the Union. The Union wins again at Subaru Park against the Red Bulls. They go to the conference semifinals. Now, the Western Conference. This took a little bit longer than I thought. Portland Timbers versus Minnesota United FC. Portland Timbers have had a good second half of the season. They started pretty slowly. Good second half. The team's starting to gel. A full season of playoff Dairon Asprilla. That's amazing. If he keeps on doing that, they'll be just fine. Diego Chara doing well. Diego Valeri, not the best performance he's had in a season, but he could retire after this year. We don't know. But he's still playing pretty well. Still has his moments, Diego Valeri. The defense is a little bit iffy, but let's be honest, that's almost every team in MLS besides, well, everybody. Well, that's just everybody. There's no besides to that. That's everybody. It's just varying degrees of everybody. Like, Toronto's absolute butt, and New England's good enough to outscore their defense. But with that being said, Portland Timbers, very good team. I like what they're doing. Von Ronken is pretty good. I like him. They have a good team. Jimmy Chara is pretty awesome, I think. He's honestly better than Diego at this point, if I have to say so myself. Niasgoda, striker. He's doing pretty good. He's back in form, I'd say. Minnesota United, they're not as good as they were last year. This team will not make the Western Conference Finals again. They're not as good as they were last year. They're not. Adrian Heath, he's been found out. The team's been found out. Reynoso's great. Other than that, it's kind of like 2015 TFC. One good player, one great player, and then some good players, and then the rest is just bench replacement fodder, replacement level. Reynoso's the amazing player. They have some good players, and then replacement level. This is not 2020. They're not that good as they were last year. Portland is better. They're going to win at home. They're great at Providence Park. Portland Timbers go to the Western Conference semis. Next up, Sporting Kansas City versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. You're about to say, Ryan, we know where you're going here. No, you don't. I like Sporting Kansas City. I have a soft spot for them. They're not winning. They've had a bad run of form. Seattle has too, but Sporting Kansas City, this is basically exactly like last year. Great forwards, horrible midfield, horrible defense. They get at you. They could light a match and set you on fire. Just like Minnesota did, speaking of Minnesota last year. But I think Vancouver is better than last year's San Jose. And that's what's going to hurt SKC. They're at home anyway. They were at home in those two games. Vancouver's better than last year's San Jose. And that's why they win. Because Vancouver is a team of destiny, pretty much, under Vanni Sartini. And I like the way they're playing. Brian White, Ryan Gould, They're a good team. They're a good team. Vancouver Whitecaps. And they're honestly good enough to beat SKC in Kansas City when their form is slumping. Their form is slumping. And the team, they have no center defensive mids. Their defense, not great. Not great. For me, I think Vancouver wins this game. Vancouver will go to the Western Conference semifinals. They will. Kansas City will falter again and pay for it. I'm not going to say they're going to get their butts whipped by SKC. SKC will not get their butts whipped by Vancouver like they did Minnesota last year, but it's going to be reminiscent of that, I would think. 3-1, yeah, something like that. And then finally, Seattle Sounders versus Real Salt Lake. Seattle. Do I even need to explain? They're facing Real Salt Lake. The only good player they have is Rubio Rubin. That's it. That one's for you, Oscar. Rubin is pretty good, though. He's good. He's good. But other than that, no, they don't. They have nothing. They have nothing to speak of. Nothing. Seattle's going to rip them apart to shreds. Even though Seattle's on a bad run of form. If you don't rip up RSL, you have some problems right now that are deeper than just a bad run of form. And it's starting to show, finally, for Seattle. They're not dead yet. At least against RSL, they will thrash them and give themselves some confidence. But I don't think it'll be enough. But we will see. Now on to the conference semis. We'll start with the East again. New England Revolution off their bye against Atlanta United FC. For me, I think New England. Again, New England's the best team in MLS regular season history. I'm not saying overall because look at that. You will never beat 2017 Toronto FC. Never. No treble, maybe a double, but you're still not as good as 2017 TFC, but best team in regular season history, most points. They have the players to back it up. Gustavo Bo, Adam Buxa, even though he may be out due to injury. I don't know if he's back yet in training. He could be by then. With the bye and all that, he could be. Gustavo Bo, Carles Heel, Tejan Buchanan, all that. Henry Kessler's pretty good in defense. Matt Turner, great goalkeeper. I think Atlanta gets stopped here. They do have an upset against New York, but New England's too much to handle at Gillette Stadium. The Revolution looked more like the Patriots of Tom Brady's era and sufficiently slap them and go on to the conference final as they should. Pretty much. Next up, Nashville SC versus Philadelphia Union. Nashville SC goes into Subaru Park and wins because I think Nashville's more of a playoff team than Philadelphia. And besides, Nashville's a better team anyway. Philadelphia has good players, but Nashville will fluster them. And I think they would win 2-1. Nashville will beat Philadelphia 2-1. Their players, they have more offensive attack or explosiveness with a better defense. They'll grind out a 2-1, 1-0 win in Philadelphia to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Simple as. Nashville is that good. Next up, Colorado Rapids versus Portland Timbers on Thanksgiving. Portland Timbers win. Why? Because let me explain this. Colorado Rapids are a good team. I respect Robin Fraser. Of course I do. And Colorado's done big things this year. But the break was the worst thing. Having a bye was the worst thing that could have happened to them. They need momentum. They needed a first-round match. Seattle and Kansas City faltering was the worst thing Colorado could have had. Having a 3-week break with a bye and other teams are playing and getting to you, they don't have momentum. Portland does. And even though Portland's on the road, Portland has playoff experience. Colorado, even though they have Drew Moore, they have Stephen Beitashour, they have players like that, Mark Anthony Kaye, all former TFC players, Mark Anthony Kaye Academy, Beitashour, and Moore, of course, 2017 TFC. They have playoff experience. Robin Fraser has playoff experience. And he's a great coach. He's coach of the year in my book. I respect Robin Fraser, but Colorado needs momentum, and they don't have it. Having the bye was the worst thing that could have happened to them. Portland has momentum. They're hot. and Portland goes into Colorado to get to the conference finals. They win and go to the conference finals. Simple as. Next up, Vancouver Whitecaps versus Seattle Sounders. You're going to call me crazy, but I have my reasons. Vancouver Whitecaps beat Seattle in Seattle. The way Vancouver's playing right now, they're better than Seattle. Seattle's still not on form. I don't care if they beat up Real Salt Lake. You're still not on form after you kick their butts. Seattle will not be on form after they beat Real Salt Lake. It's not going to happen. Vancouver will be the better team going into that match. They believe they're the better team. Brian Schmetzer will be undone by Vanni Sartini and his men. Ryan Gould, Brian White, Diome. He is going to be undone for once because Seattle's not good right now. I don't care if you beat up Real Salt Lake. You still were 0-3-3 in your last 6. 1-3-3-7 with that playoff win being the one win. If it goes by what I think. I'm sorry, that's not good enough for me. Vancouver's been on a hot streak since Marc Dos Santos got fired. And I respect Marc Dos Santos. Great guy, great manager. Didn't work out for the Whitecaps. It is what it is. Vanni Sartini fits them better. You can't get mad at that. Whitecaps are going to the Western Conference Final. They are. Simple as. So there you go. Your conference finals. Eastern Conference Final. New England Revolution versus Nashville SC. New England's going to be too much to handle for Gary Smith and his tricky boys in gold. I'm sorry. They're going to be too much. New England has too much attacking firepower for that defense to hold down. It's going to be like 3-2, I think. Because Nashville could score goals, but it's going to be a shootout. Nashville doesn't know how to act in those. Bo, Buxa, Heel, all that, they're going to take over in that game. Tajon, they're going to take over in that game. Going to be too much to handle. The 3-2 shootout, but New England end up your Eastern Conference champions after losing in the conference finals last year. Of course at home, which also helps New England, but they win. Of course, their defense isn't the best. I think Nashville's defense is better, but it's definitely going to be a shootout. Nashville gets close, but they just can't hold on to it. With that being said, next up, Portland Timbers versus Vancouver Whitecaps. Sadly, the Cinderella run ends here. Vancouver actually plays a solid team for once. And Portland, again, has more experience than Vancouver. Yes, Vancouver has the energy. They have the want. They have the destiny. Not enough against playoff Dairon Asprilla and Diego Valeri and Diego Chara and Jimmy Chara and all that. It's not enough. Portland at home in Portland, more experience. I think it ends up, that's the end of the road for the Cinderella Whitecaps. So your MLS Cup Final will be Portland Timbers versus New England Revolution in my book. And I have New England winning, of course. New England at home, stronger team. Portland has had a on and off season. They're hot right now. But I think New England gets their job done. They stop being the nevers. They win an MLS Cup before they get rid of that iconic crayon flag badge and send it off into the sunset with a big MLS Cup win. Bruce Arena's 4th. And they win the Supporters Shield MLS Cup double. Too much for Portland to handle New England. In Gillette Stadium on December 11th. New England wins 3-2 in the MLS Cup Final over Portland. Regular time, 90 minutes. So with that being said, there are my MLS Cup playoff predictions for this season, 2021. It's going to be a great run. Check out, if you like this video, like, share, subscribe. You know what it is. Tell all your friends. Check out my Patreon, $5, $10, or $20 a month. Anything's appreciated. Help support the channel. Be awesome if you do. Also, subscribe, comment, like, share, super chats on the live streams, hit that big red subscribe button, hit that notification bell, share this with your friends and family, put this in playlists, all of that great stuff. Tomorrow, I have a live watch along of Philadelphia Union versus New York Red Bulls and an RSR for SKC versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to be on the grind. This is the home stretch. We're going to have some fun. And let's get to 1,250 subscribers or more. I think I will, but we'll see what happens. Let's have some fun. I'm Ryan and I'm out. Peace. See you later. See you tomorrow. Let's have some fun.